Thank you, Anne-Charlotte, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Reach Your Coffee episode 9. As Anne-Charlotte said, my name is Marco Galeotti, and I am the Communication Officer at EMSO ERIC. Today, we would like to address the topics related to the training challenges and opportunities for ICOs, starting with the experiences of CLARIN and SIOS. So first of all, for accepting my invitation, I would like to thank Iulianna, Training and Education Officer at CLARIN, Shridhar Jawak, Remote Sensing Officer and Senior Advisor at SIOS. They will both be giving us a short presentations on the challenges and opportunities in building relationship with industry and on some of the skills that an ICO should develop. But without further ado, I'll pass the floor to Iulianna for a presentation. Please, Iulianna.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm going to share my screen. So I have many slides, but I'm going to skip a couple of those. The team will share the slides, the complete set, with you after the cafe. So I've recently joined CLARIN as a training and education officer, and I combine this responsibility also with some of ICO related tasks, together with another colleague of mine, Elisa Giorgiani, who is external relations officer. So for those of you who don't know CLARIN, it stands for Common Language Resources and Technology Infrastructure. It has an S3 ERIC status since 2012, and we have become a landmark in 2016. We provide easy and sustainable access to tools, digital language data, and technologies to scholars, teachers, and students in the humanities and social sciences through a single sign-on environment. And we have also become really a knowledge exchange hub. The consortium consists of 21 members, and it's very important to emphasize that we have a network of distributed data centers all over Europe, which are interoperable, and data can be easily exchanged among these data centers. Since we have adopted the open science policy of the European Commission, of the European Union, all integrated data sets are available in open access, not only for researchers, but also for the citizens, which may raise some obstacles when trying to set up partnerships with industry, because everything we offer and we store on our platform is easily accessible and downloadable, and we don't really keep track of, for example, industry users that download our resources. So we belong to the Social and Cultural Innovation Cluster. We collaborate closely with other ERICs in the social sciences and humanities domain. And we even collaborate on an open cloud project with other infrastructures. As far as the organization is concerned, our main office is in Utrecht, the Netherlands, and we have 12 FTEs employed. Our budget for the central operations is on average 1.5 million euros per year. Most of the income comes from the members and also EU-funded projects. How do we engage with the industry and public institutions? We closely cooperate with the EU innovation projects, and the cultural sector is very important for us, of course. We collaborate with galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. And we need the ICOs to support us and enhance the collaboration with the industry or non-academic partners. We have some ideas. We will try to get more involved in research projects that are organized together with industry participants, organize specific training programs for companies, consultancy services, and cooperate with some EU-funded language technology platforms. We have also discovered that we need more clarity in the legislation regarding the IPR issues for commercial use of data and tools that are developed with public funding. So we don't have a full-time ICO yet in the Central Management Office. So as I explained in the beginning, some of the staff combine their primary responsibility with ICO tasks. We did send out a survey to the nodes, and we learned that they employ either ICOs or similar staff members that have a similar role, such as a technology transfer officer, for example, who collaborate with researchers and help them setting up projects in collaboration with the industry. Most often, these are one-off projects or ongoing, depends from case to case. We have identified some potential services we could offer for companies, such as access to data, modeling via our research infrastructure data portal. We could offer support for the development of data products and various applications, and also organize events, training, and offer consultancy services, for example, for language data standards and repositories. This is a slide summarizing the core skills we have identified also after we have talked with other colleagues in related research infrastructures in the social sciences and humanities, and also arts. And I'm not going to read them all, but we think that the most important core skill is the ability to translate the value of the research infrastructure to the industry and help develop a strategic knowledge and technology transfer plan. Of course, it's also very important to know the data industry and have the ability to identify the gaps that the research infrastructure and our knowledge centers could fill in. And here are related training topics that could be of interest for some of the ICOs, not only for CLARIN, but in general for the research infrastructures that function in the social sciences and humanities domain. And I think for a distributed research infrastructure, it's very important that we come up with an effective model for collaboration between the ICO in different nodes. This is I think one of the most important aspects or training topics, and we hope that Enrich and also other European let's say partners could help provide this type of training. That's it for me in a nutshell. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Iulianna. Thank you for your presentation. I personally think that it is quite important to take into account the experience of both the SSH and STEAM research infrastructure in developing the strategy for training the ICOs, because of course there are specific needs in terms of skills, as you said,
yes.
That should be considered in developing a strategy for the training. But before we open it up for questions, I'd like to welcome our second speaker, Shridhar, for his presentation. So we can then open the session for questions. Please, Shridhar, the floor is yours.
Yes, can you see my slides?
Yes, perfectly, thanks.
Yes, thank you, Marco, for introduction. And it was a really good learning experience to hear about the Iulianna's experience. And I would like to share our experiences as the Svalbard Integrated Arctic Earth Observing System. We call it SIOS or COS, which is a cooperative international research infrastructure. And it is a distributed infrastructure, and we have the research infrastructure all over the Svalbard. So those, we are quite active in Enrich, but still those who are new to today's meeting, the Svalbard CIOS is the international research infrastructure. We focus on the processes and their interactions between the different spheres in and around Svalbard. And we focus on the systematic observation, stable over time, yet dynamic as the new question from the society arise. So we have the three components of this research infrastructure. First is observing system. Second is the consortium. Third is the knowledge center. So the observing system is based on the scientific observations in situ and the remotely sensed, which are captured by the Earth observation. The consortium, we have 24 institutions from 9 countries, those who have the active research infrastructure in and around Svalbard. And the knowledge center, we are staffed with 5 persons, and we deal with the coordination, development, and optimization of the distributed research infrastructures. So we have different services: data management, logistics, access program, and the remote sensing resources. So I take care of the remote sensing services, but similar to the Iulianna's talk, we do not have the specific ICO in our research infrastructure. And this is why this coffee meeting is important for us to learn. But why Svalbard? It's a high Arctic and large temperature gradients, and which attracts to the many scientists to do research here. And it is influenced by the complete northern hemisphere, like water and air currents. And the most important thing is that even if it is high Arctic, we have well-developed infrastructure, and there is a unique potential for use of satellite data, because most of the satellite passes through the Svalbard, and we have the ground station in Svalsat. So that means the accessibility of the Svalbard makes it a region where observational development, testing, and innovation technology, proof of concept, and implementation of observational systems can be demonstrated and refined first, and in areas like Arctic. And we work towards the integration of the new and existing infrastructure. We try to form a network of the systematic observation and improve the integration of the satellite-based. Here you can see the satellites and the in situ. These are the dots, shows the research infrastructures all over the Svalbard. These are the sensors installed, or the stations installed in the Svalbard. And both with this remote sensing and the in situ integration, we would like to see a Svalbard with a grid system with no gaps in the observations. And SIOS also plays an active role in the European landscape of environmental research infrastructure. For instance, we are involved in the ENVI projects. We were involved into ENVI Plus and now ENVI Fair. And here you can see on the multi-domain research infrastructure, SIOS is mentioned under the environmental research infrastructure. But yes, about the today's talk, with this introduction to the SIOS, today's talk, how SIOS experience is in engaging industries. So what we do, the main tool of the involving the engaging industries is our special sessions and engaging conferences sessions. For instance, we did this session in Arctic Frontiers, which is a major conference in the Arctic research and the policy, where most of the politicians, policymakers, and the scientists gather together. So we find out we actually organize such kind of sessions where we can invite industries for a dialogue. Second is the Arctic Circle Assembly, which happens every year, but now in last year and this year, last year it did not happen because of the pandemic. And very recently, we had a really good workshop called Snow Workshop, where we invited industries to interact with the scientists and find out the solutions, smart solutions for the snow observation in Svalbard. And the fourth is that we also provide the aircraft-based measurements in Svalbard, and we provide access to the airborne remote sensing platforms. And that is also another way to involve industries into the research in Svalbard. So as I said, that this is this kind of example to show that what kind of talks we cover during this conference sessions, like simple technologies to improve the capabilities of the sensors in measurements, for instance, water column observations in the high latitudes. So basically, Arctic friendly or Arctic the sensors adapted to the Arctic conditions, and this attracts much about the industries in working with SIOS. So what are our tools? As I already mentioned, how we engage or facilitate the innovation partnering opportunities between industries and SIOS. So the first is conferences, as I mentioned, but not only the other conferences, we host our own online conferences called SIOS Online Conference. We conduct the SIOS webinar series every month, and we also invite some of the scientists and the industrialists also are invited for this. We host the training courses, and we also have the teachers, the experts from the industries, or even the participants are involved in into the training course. We provide the access to test the new instruments in Svalbard, where industries can participate actively. And also we have the communication tools and the dedicated communication officer who actually spread the news about our events and attract industries in our activities. So where are the areas to collaborate with industries? For us, it's a new technology and innovations. And why? This is very traditional concept for why we need new technology and innovation is that to decrease the environmental impact of a scientific observation in Svalbard. For instance, we don't want to repeat the observation, multiple observations with the many scientists coming over in Svalbard and carrying out the similar kind of observation. Instead of that, to decrease that environmental impact, we need new technologies and innovative ideas for smart field work, which is cost efficient, cheaper to buy and to maintain. So that would help us to make new applications with the cost effective manner and also improve the spatial or the temporal resolution of the observation. So in brief, we need to help to adapt future conditions caused by the changing Arctic. Arctic is warming and we need new technologies to adapt with these warming scenarios. And how we do it, we focus on new instrumentation, testing of instrumentation through the access call in access program in Svalbard. And then also focus on the new methodologies and approaches development through our dedicated State of Environmental Science report, SES. And of course, we try to integrate both the data sets from in situ data sets were captured by the new or the smart fieldworks and the remote sensing activities. So finally, the final slide is that what are our challenges and the lessons learned from our experiences. We don't have much experiences with working in industries, but our member institutions are individually interested in this, coping with collaborating with the industries. And from the SIOS Knowledge Center, we facilitate this process with some of the conferences. But the main challenge is that from our experience, from our and the member institution experience is that finding a common area of interest between scientists and industries for mutual benefits. Funding models and issues, because the industries have different funding models and the academia or the scientific research institutions have different funding models, and there should be some mutual interest or mutual projects development into this direction. Industries are mostly solution derived or the solution based development, while the academic research is more of the publications or the PhDs, and which is short term for a PhD student to look at the long-term innovations in industries. So there should be some balance into that, and that is a more challenge for us to involve industries for facilitating the dialogue. And overall, the modus operandi of the industries and the research communities, there are huge differences. How do they work, the time limits, and the most of the scientists, they prefer to write grant applications and they spend much of the time on there. But in industries is more into the development of the solutions and the quick solutions. So this is the modus operandi are different, and this is one of the challenges to deal with. But yes, we have the lessons from all these activities. So our lessons are that workshops and conferences are very effective platforms to bring them together and facilitate the dialogue. But to arrange these workshops and conferences, well-crafted topic of interest is a prime requirement. Otherwise, it would be really boring for industries to deal with the basic concepts in the research, and the research community is interested to see that solutions, the smart solutions from the industries, which can improve their research attempts in Svalbard. And access program that provides the access to the research infrastructure, it also facilitates the industry involvement. For instance, we recently conducted the snow workshop where the industries are interested to test their new sensors to measure the snow in Svalbard, and they are also ready to do it for cooperative basis. And this is why we feel that providing access to industries into this research infrastructure in Svalbard is necessary. And developing of the training courses is also by involving experts from industries is one of the way to engage industries. And finally, very new thing that we are going to launch the SIOS Innovation Award, which will be open for industries and research, which will provide the new opportunities for industries to prove their technologies in Arctic scenarios. So with this, I would like to thank Marco and the team for inviting me, and would like to discuss further more and learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shridhar, and thank you very much for your presentation. I think that now we can open the floor for questions.
Yeah, I'll just jump in since the time is so short. And if you don't mind, I would like to thank the speakers, and I would like to pose a couple of questions, one to Shridhar and one to Iulianna. To Shridhar, I think it's very important. All the experience you brought in is really relevant, and thank you for that. It's a great snapshot. And I imagine that the calls are very useful tools to engage industry. And you mentioned those tools, and you mentioned specifically an award about innovation. And so can you tell us a bit more how they're structured, who funds them, and what kind of amounts are we talking about? Is it about feasibility studies? Is it just an initial contact? It's a commercialization grant? What kind of exercise do you want to simulate? And then I'll pass on to Iulianna afterwards.
Yes, thanks for this question. I think we are still in the development of this award, Innovation Award, and we have developed the task force within the SIOS and formulate the call text and how much amount we can fund. But the basic idea is that to also fund the proof of concept of technology that can be implemented in the Arctic. So we are still thinking about whether it is for individual or the institutions, and whether to fund it before or after the proving the applicability. So this is very preliminary idea, but I think within next 2 months, you would hear from us more on that within the Enrich community.
Okay, thank you. And Iulianna, if I may use the time, I was thinking about a reflection on the structure of these distributed infrastructures and the role that you may have envisaged or not between the central management office and the distributed nodes, and the different the ways that the central management would look into an innovation or a communication with industry. Is it something that would be directed from the central management? Is it something that nodes have a complete freedom to operate, so to speak? And is there any shared intellectual property between the nodes and the central management? In other words, does the ERIC own any intellectual property that actually can be commercialized by the various nodes?
Not as far as I know. Each node, they have the freedom. If I'm mistaken, Elisa, please correct me, because one of my colleagues is here as well, and she has more experience working at CLARIN. Each node has the freedom to set up their own projects with the industry. So we can exchange experiences and best practices, but we don't really interfere in their projects. And of course, now we would like, since we participate in Enrich, we would like to set up a more specific strategy, how to collaborate with the nodes and the ICOs. And of course, first of all, we will need to define a good profile for an ICO, because now, as you also know, each university has a so-called technology transfer officer, right? And I think they will play an important role in defining this ICO profile, for example. And yes, so we hope that in Enrich, we will help to develop a really more concrete strategy. So we are at the beginning, of course. So
all right, that's great. Thank you so much for responding.
And the central management office, of course, we will take the responsibility to coordinate this as much as possible and work more united.
Do you think, sorry if I go on, but do you think the liaison officers, do you have this kind of figure in CLARIN? Do you have national liaison officers?
No, we don't have. We have only ICOs, because the industry is just a user could use our services and language technologies and resources. We don't have an ILO. No.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Ilaria. Does anyone have any other questions?
I do. This is Jorge from
Thank you, Jorge.
Iulianna, I am interested in the two slices that you've shown about the skills of ICOs and education topics. Could you please show the last one, the one about education topics, in which you listed
the training topics?
Yeah,
yes.
That's it. That's it. You mentioned several ones, very interesting indeed. You mentioned what you call effective model of collaboration.
Yes.
Could you please elaborate more, because this is very interesting, because if there are some kind of theories or ways to proceed or any kind of knowledge about how an ICO have to think about on planning or building himself or herself to be open to industry, it is quite interesting. Would you please elaborate a little more?
Yes, I can't say that we have a model. Yes, this is something that we are interested in a training, and maybe, I don't know, setting up some kind of a task force to develop this effective model. Now we are at the stage where we send a survey to the nodes, the CLARIN nodes, in order to find out exactly what they are doing and how they are collaborating with the industry and what kind of projects they have. And then we will probably have to meet and sit at a table and try to develop this model, because we have in total 23 members. And so out of 23 members, we have identified ICOs only in 4 of them. For example, only 4 nodes have specific information on their websites about possible services for the industry. So there is a lot of work to be done.
Okay. Okay, and also I am quite interested on that you pointed out the importance of an ICO to be also very well trained and knowledge about technology transfer and knowledge.
Yes,
because,
not only yes, yeah. Indeed, not only the technology. I believe that the knowledge that we have in the CLARIN Center is very, very important for the industry, especially the language, for example, language industry. And we could send PhD students to work on certain projects or to educate. We found out, for example, via a language industry survey that there is very little training on standards, for example, language data standards, repositories, which the companies are very much interested in. And they could get that knowledge only from universities, academia, research infrastructures such as CLARIN and others in the field. So yeah, we need to identify and develop a good strategy how to transfer this knowledge, and not only the technology.
Thank you very much, Iulianna.
Yeah, we could do that also, of course, through internships and common projects and career opportunities. I don't know. We have to discuss.
Iulianna,
yes.
I have a question, just jumping on what you were mentioning with this language and the data you're sharing with industry. Is do you have collaboration with industry when it comes to like gender language and BAs, and eventually how you could or can you help them with the gender aspect? Because I mean, this is becoming more and more of an important topic.
I'm not aware of that. No, Elisa, maybe, do you have any reflections?
I don't think so for regarding to industry, but there are certain centers that are working on detecting gendered speech in parliamentary discourse. So analyzing all these parliamentary speeches, but that kind of knowledge can be applied in a different field easily, I think. So it's a matter of understanding exactly where is the center that deals better with that from our central perspective, I think. But we do have expertise in general in gender bias with language.
Thank you. I have a question, if I may, for Iulianna about the marketplace that Shock is developing. There are already envisaged some services for the industry in the marketplace of Shock, for example?
Interesting that you mentioned this. We just had a consortium meeting this week on Monday, and the industry as a stakeholder, they still need to identify the services that the marketplace could provide. Yeah, and I even told them about Enrich because they were not aware about this initiative. And I think we will get in touch in order to exchange some best practices and some ideas that we got from the Enrich project to help them.
Thank you, Iulianna. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any other question?
I was interested in, I think Iulianna mentioned IPR rules for publicly funded research work or results.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me, because I mean, it was interesting because I felt the IPR rules are they, is there any doubt?
Well, as I said, we need more clarity from the legislation about that because it's not clear, and that's why probably we have some difficulty in setting up collaborations with academia. For example, I participated in the development of a prototype a couple of years ago, computer-aided translation. And we had industry partners and advisory boards. And at the end of the project, after 4 years, okay, we developed this great prototype. What are we going to do with it? So it was very difficult to find an industry partner to take that prototype over, implement it into their workflows, and develop it further, because otherwise it would just stay in the university lab, which is a pity. So that's why I think there are still lots of issues regarding IPR that are not clear. And I think Francesca Morselli from DANS may also have some ideas. I'm not sure what's your experience about IPR.
Hi, everyone. Well, actually, I was reflecting more or less on the same line as you're doing now, not only from an IPR perspective, but also from an ethical perspective. So, for example, it's not only about the intellectual property of the data created, but also like the resources, like the tools created, for example, like on an ethical level, how do you offer to the industry something that has been created with public funding? So that's something that I'm wondering too. And I don't think this is only for the social science and humanities. I guess this is something that is also interesting for all the other research infrastructures. So I'm new to this network, so sorry if my remark is a bit naive maybe, but yeah, this is probably a big question.
Okay. When you made your collaboration and you had industry engagement, was there a collaboration agreement that sort of set out how background and foreground IPR and what may or may not happen, or am
I was not a project manager of that project, just a researcher, so I don't know. Okay, but we did have some agreements, of course, in place because we were allowed to test the prototype on their workflows, of course.
Yeah, and just Francesca, if we develop something with public money, because that's the only money we've got, right? I mean, we've got a bit of industrial money coming in, but 98% of our budget is European or from our member states or whatever, right? I mean, if we develop something and we could make money out of it, there's no ethical problem there. We make money. We go.
Of course.
I guess it depends like how you're reusing this money, right? I guess it's like, is it reinvested in the public?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sector. That's not an issue.
Fair point. Yeah, you're right. There's no sort of dividends that go to in people's personal pockets or anything like that. There's it goes back into the facility.
Yeah.
There is, I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of translation memory in computer-aided translation. So it's a huge database. Everything I'm translating, it's stored in that database. So now one of these non-profit organizations in the Netherlands, they found a model, developed a model to sell the database to the industry. Can you imagine that? I still have to dive and learn. I'm very curious to learn how they did it, but they do try to profit from, and these databases are developed by translators, right? So there's a lot of discussions there, who owns that database, or the segments or sentences that are translated by the translators. So it's a very interesting discussion.
Well, that's kind of cool, because you've got an automatically generated
not only automatically generated,
okay.
but because Google Translate cannot translate 7,000 languages, right? You need human post editors to post edit that out.
It's getting better though, right?
I'm talking about the technical field and technical translation because it's not possible, but they are parties that they do try to sell language databases. I don't know, we can't do that in CLARIN because they can just download it from the platform, so I reuse them for their own purposes.
Thank you, Het. I think that we are running out of time, or the time is already done. I'd like to say that what a useful and valuable discussion we had today. I think we can agree it's been highly informative. I'd like to thank you again, the speakers. Thank you, Iulianna. Thank you, Shridhar. And thank you all of you for joining. I don't know if Charlotte want to say something.
Yeah, just very few words. So first of all, I would like to thank everyone again and kindly invite you as well to join and continue the discussion if you have any question or comments or ideas on our LinkedIn group. Because I think it's time now to activate this group a little bit, and I'm sure we have a lot to share. And so we are closing the season 2 today for now, and we will meet again on the 8th of April. We take the Easter break, and it's going to be Ilaria who will host the session with Katharina Lohr from Elixir, and they're going to talk about data for innovation and the role of industry. So we hope to see you all again, so in 2 weeks. And we wish you all a very happy Easter and lots of chocolate and hopefully some sun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, and see you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Bye.